2 months after I moved in, I worked for this thing for 20 freaking years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in this pool behind me. It's night. Pool's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting. And I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. I built it to prove the world I was good enough. And I'm looking up at this thing, and I got depressed. And this is 2 months after I moved in. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was freaking bummed. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I've just achieved success like times 1,000. I had the Maserati in the garage at the time. I had a couple of Mercedes. I had the boats, the jet skis, all the stuff, beautiful family in the house, incredible home. And I was depressed.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investors Money Matrix podcast, where we talk all things real estate and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Scott Ulmer, and today I am honored to be joined with Rod Khleif. Rod does a lot, a very, very impressive gentleman, and the website and his bio about page is really fascinating. Rod, first and foremost, thank you for being here. Honored to have you on the show.
Thanks, Scott. It's great to be here as well, and really enjoyed our conversation about previous lives that we've had with other thought leaders. But no, let's have some fun today and add some value, brother.
Fantastic, man. Well, listen, rather than me kind of give your bio and kind of read through it, a lot of highs and lows, a lot of things that you've gone through in your time here. And would you mind just kind of giving us a kind of a backdrop on who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Love it. No, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. So I'm going to go back quite a ways because I think it'll lend framework to what I'm going to talk about that I think we're going to dig into a little bit. So I immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Svantje. I was born in the Netherlands, think wooden shoes and windmills, Holland, and ended up in Denver, Colorado. And we really struggled. We didn't have much. In fact, I remember eating expired food because it was cheaper than regular food that my mom would buy. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than regular milk. I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I lied about my age, got a job when I was 14 at Burger King flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes, because I discovered girls by that point, obviously, and then buy a car ultimately. And, I'm sure you've got listeners that have it harder than I did, maybe have it harder now or had it harder. But see, I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And she was a bit of an entrepreneur. With her babysitting money, she invested in the stock market. She and made money and did IPOs, all sorts of crazy stuff. But she also invested in real estate. And when I was 14, she bought the house across the street from us for about $30,000, directly across the street. When I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep that had gone up in value. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand? You didn't do anything? Screw college, Mom. I'm getting into real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18, which you could do back then with education. I wasn't just an agent. I was a broker. I could have my own office. Now they got smart and you need a little experience before you were a broker. But back then you could do it with education. So I was a broker and I was going to be rich selling real estate. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. This is 1978. My second year, maybe about 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was not chump change. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. I actually dated his daughter. And how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the technical information that you and I teach, on how to buy real estate. It's really, you got to take action with what you learn. If it was just knowledge, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there. It's the do and it's the keep doing, right? So fast forward to today. I've owned a couple thousand houses that I've rented long term. I've owned thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept.
Wow.
And you're thinking, wow, okay. And so did I. I said, wow. And I thought I was a freaking real estate god. And I could barely fit my head through a door. I thought I was so awesome. You do the math on that. It's like $8,300 an hour all year long. And of course I did. And when you get a big head like that, God or the universe, whatever you believe, will give you a nice little smack. Well, that was 2008. I lost everything. I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008. And so one of the things that I'm known for on my podcast, I've got a podcast called Lifetime Cash Flow, and blessed to say we're about to hit 12 million downloads. And one of the things I'm known for is that mindset and psychology around how I had 50 million to lose in the first place, and it's all mindset and psychology. But even as importantly, or maybe more importantly, is how to recover from that. I mean, there were people that jumped off buildings and killed themselves in both this last contraction in '08 and, of course, the Great Depression for losing less comparatively. So, would love to drill down on that with you if you like.
Please. In fact, that's my next question. I'd love to hear lessons and all about it.
So, I get asked all the time, how did you recover? Well, what I did was I reassociated with what I wanted and why I wanted it. So, if you come to one of my boot camps, and just so happens that I actually have one coming up December 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Orlando, one of the first things we do, and I think this is going to go live before then, so I'm going to give you guys a great deal if you want to come. It's the only live event I do a year. I do virtual events, but this one will be in person. So at least somewhere between 600 and 700 people already registered. So it's going to be a monster. It's going to be freaking awesome. It's not a sales pitch. I talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes. The other 3 days, it's all content. In fact, I've never had a complaint other than the room's too cold or the food sucked or something like that. It's never about the content. But anyway, but the first thing we do is goal setting, because how do you get anything in life if you don't know what it is, right? You've got to have what Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. You've got to have a burning desire. You've got to want it, okay? And you've got to want it. Why? Because that's what's going to get your butt up early to make this happen. Stay up late, to work Saturdays, to grind for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. Mm-hmm. It's that burning desire. And so you've got to know what it is you want. So the first thing we do is we do this goal-setting workshop on steroids. And if you give me a few minutes, I'll describe it. So, because a lot of people aren't going to be able to make that short a window to come to my event, but I'd love to add value to you. So let me describe the process, because it's super powerful. It's not, it's not writing your New Year's resolutions. In fact, nobody even writes those. They just think about them in their head. But it's not your New Year's resolutions, which are forgotten by January 17th. It's a life plan. So can I expand on that?
Please.
Okay. So what you want to do is you want to pick an hour that you have a lot of energy. And so if you're listening or watching this, if you have the ability to take some notes, I'd encourage you to do that. The other thing I will tell you, if you can't make my boot camp, I did this on January 2nd on my Rod Khleif official Facebook page. I'm on every social media. My team even got me on freaking TikTok now. So if you ping me on any social media channel and say, send me your goal video, I'll send you the link to it. It comes with a guide, to walk you through it. And music, and it's really well done. So if you ping me, I'll send that to you. But of course, if you can come to my boot camp, for God's sakes, do that. But here's what you do. You pick an hour when you have a lot of energy, and you write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. All the stuff, the houses, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes. Take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it. And besides, it's not outside the realm of reality, okay? And I'll give you examples of this. But what that does when you write your goals down, it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And what that is a subconscious filter. You're not conscious of it, but it's your brain pointing you in the direction of what you think you're interested in. And the greatest example of it is when you first buy a car. You never really noticed them before you buy the car, and then they're everywhere, right? Right. Were they there before? Of course they were. That's your reticular activating system. It's the same thing with your goals. And so just writing them down is hugely powerful. And, and if you're analytical and you do everything in your head, if you're in your head, you're dead. Okay, write this stuff down. Very important. Okay, and again, if you want a private island, a jet, a yacht, write that down, because that starts the process. There's truly nothing you can't do, be, or have in this world. And I'll give you some of my personal examples of this. I'm not going to be bragging, but I've got some great examples of this. So I want to share this. So you're writing everything down you could ever possibly want. You also want to write down how much cash flow you want from your investments in, say, 3 years, and in 10 years. Write how much money you want in the bank, for in case the stuff hits the fan fund in 3 years or 10 years. Write down also everything you want to do in this lifetime. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to visit? Maybe you want to write a book. Write that down. Maybe you want to climb every mountain over 14,000 feet. Write down your bucket list items. I had to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I did that a couple years ago. I'll never freaking do it again. It's off the list. So that's the kind of stuff. Write all that stuff down too. Also write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime. Maybe you want to learn a foreign language. You want to learn a skill. Learn it from Scott here. Or if you want multifamily, for God's sakes, come see me. So write that down. And then lastly, write down who you want to help. Okay, we will do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. And again, this is the fuel. This is what gets you to take action. This is the fuel to do that. So write down who you want to help. Like, I bought my parents a house when my dad was alive, on a canal here in Florida, took him on cruises, bought him a car. So write down who you want to help. Write that down. And then once you can't think of it, and by the way, if you're analytical, don't stop and analyze each answer. Just keep writing. Don't stop yourself. Keep that freaking momentum, okay? Don't let the pen leave the paper. You can always scratch it out later. Once you can't think of another thing, big things, small things, everything, remember that. Once you can't think of another thing, then I want you to put a time limit on each goal. Go back through each goal and put a number by how many years you think it's going to achieve each goal. And don't overthink this. Just a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20, okay? Realizing that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, or 20 years. I'll give you an example of this. Again, I want to prefend this, not me bragging. I just want to share this with you. In fact, it's the picture behind me, actually, if you're watching this on video. Back when I lived in Denver, I always knew I wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver, okay? But I would visualize the palm trees and the surf and the sand and the waves. And 20 years later, I built this incredible $8 million, 10,000 square foot mansion on the beach. And like I said, the picture behind me is the pool. That pool was in magazines. It was a giant 12-foot wide waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. I mean, again, a spectacular home. I owned the beach on one side. I had my boat houses on the backside. It was called the Gulf to Bay. It was a slice through an island. Spectacular. Wow. But that was unthinkable when I was 18. So I want to share that with you to not limit yourself, okay? You know, I back then when I was 18, I didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off, but I said, screw it, that's what I want. I visualized it, and I made it happen. So, okay, so put a time limit on each goal. Then the next step is you pick your number one goal. I mean that goal when you get it like, oh my God, you know you've arrived when you achieve that goal. Now, if there's 2 or 3 of them equally exciting, just pick one. It won't matter for what we're going to do next. Write that goal on a separate sheet of paper. Then I want you to pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. So you've got 4 goals, your number 1 goal and your top 3 one-year goals. Leave some room in between them. And again, if you DM me on a social channel, I'll give you a guide for this and recording, all that stuff. But you can do this with paper and pen. So you've got your 4 goals. Now, at this point, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that never think this deeply. But there's a couple more quick steps. You need to write down under each one of those goals why it's an absolute freaking must for you to achieve it. It has to happen, okay? And you want to use emotionally charged words. Words like amazing and beautiful and incredible. Words are very powerful, and you want to use them to juice you, okay? So you might say, so I can show my kids what incredible abundance looks like. So I can show my wife what it means to have a life of amazing freedom. Whatever it is, whatever's going to juice you, okay? Put that down there. You know, so we have the freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, bring whoever we want. You know, whatever it is, write that down. Then once you've got a positive reason why under each goal, and you can have a couple sentences, I want you to put some pain in there if you don't achieve the goal, okay? And make it freaking hurt so I don't feel like a failure, so I don't fail my kids, so I don't fail my husband or wife. Make it hurt so I don't live a life of regret. Why? Because as human beings, we'll do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And again, this is the freaking fuel, guys. This is what gets you to take action. You know, push through that fear that you might have. Push through limiting beliefs that you may have. You know, or maybe you're comfortable. Comfort zone's a warm place, and nothing freaking grows there, right? Okay? So you got to push through that. And this is what makes you do that. So put some pain in there and make it hurt. There was this, nurse in Australia, hospice nurse. So she took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked him a question, Scott, and the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what her name is Bronnie Ware. You know what the number 1 regret was? It was not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Guys, this is what prevents that from happening, okay? I can't think of anything worse. So, don't fear failure. Fear being in the same place you are a year from now that you are now, unless you freaking love where you are right now, right? So that's what you want to fear. So anyway, once you've got your goals down, the last step is either make declarations with people who aren't going to poo-poo your goals, or get pictures. You definitely want pictures as well. I'll give you some examples of this. So great example is Jim Carrey. When he was flat broke, wrote himself a check for $10 million. And for those of you millennials, a check is something we used to use to pay for things, like Zello and Venmo or whatever. But anyway, so he wrote himself this check, and he would go up by the Hollywood sign, flat broke, and he'd look at it and visualize cashing it. And that's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. I'll give you a more recent example. Demi Lovato, the singer, 11 years ago when she was pretty much unknown, posted on social media, one day I'm going to sing the national anthem in the Super Bowl. Not this last one. Go watch the one before, last year. She sang it. I'll give you some personal examples from me. Back when, I turned 18 and I was going to sell houses, I figured I needed a 4-door car. So I bought this bone ugly Ford Granada, bench seat in the front, just a real piece of crap. But I figured that's what I had to have, right? Well, the guy I worked for that I was telling you about, he had 2 Corvettes and he let me drive one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking amazing. So I got a picture out of a magazine. This is before the internet had been thought of yet. I got a picture out of a magazine. I put it on the visor of my Granada. So every time I sat in the car, it was right there in front of my face. Within a year or two, I had a beautiful Corvette. I'll give you a couple more examples. Again, please know I'm not trying to brag here. I want to inspire you to what's possible. In fact, this stuff doesn't even interest me anymore. And so replace what I'm sharing with you with whatever it is you want, okay? Because this freaking works. This is back when the TV show Magnum P.I. was out, okay? Actor's name, Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, oh yeah.
He was a detective, remember?
Oh yeah.
That? Yeah, so he was in Hawaii and he drove this Ferrari 308. And that was the first time I'd seen an exotic car. And I'm like, oh my God. So I got a picture of that actual car, put on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it. Last example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini, okay, once I found out about them. And and what's interesting is my son collected models of exotic cars. He had about 30 or 40, the Porsches and the Ferraris and the McLarens. And he had a model of a Lamborghini, exact same color and style that I ended up getting, which I wrecked. But anyway, so again, the point is get pictures. In fact, let me share something with you. Do you put these on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my planner. Okay, it's on today. It's the 17th today. Okay, in the back of this planner, it used to be a daytimer, now it's Franklin Covey is the planner, but luckily the hole's lined up because in the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here for 21 years.
No kidding.
First pictures are my gratitude pictures. My kids are 30 and 26 now. This is when my kids were young. Okay, everything starts from a place of gratitude, guys. You want to manifest anything you want in life, you do it with gratitude. So these are pictures of my kids. So these, I've got a gratitude vision board as well behind the green screen here. All right, then I've got pictures of the houses I wanted. That top picture looks just like the house out on the beach. I had 10-foot high glass like that was 80 feet long, butt together, had travertine floors just like that. This is before I built it. This bottom picture, well, I can't show you because I usually have a picture behind me of my backyard now. But just to say it looks just like this bottom picture, it's freaky, okay? It's before I ever had. I live in a compound now. I've got 6 buildings. I've got a big main house. I got a 2-bedroom guest house on the water. I've got a media building. I've got a big exercise facility, 5-car garages, and on and on and on. And like I said, it looks like this bottom picture, but I can't show it to you. But then stupid stuff like I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches, stupid shit I thought was important at one time. There's a Lamborghini before I got it, okay? The Rolls Royce, the Bentley, all the stuff that I got because I had pictures, okay? So get pictures. Put them around you, screensaver, put them on the wall, go to Walgreens, CVS, have them blown up and put them around you. And because it works. And so anyway, drop the mic.
Fantastic, man. My goodness. Yeah. And I've taken a lot of notes. I got to tell you, just from the heart, you're re-inspiring me. I know what I'm doing tonight when I get home. I'm resetting some goals. So, well, I've got a couple questions for that, but I want to just point out, coincidentally or not, in the past 2 days, I've heard you're the third person mentioned Think and Grow Rich. And of course, most entrepreneurs have read that. That's a starting point for most. And if you haven't and you're listening, what a great way to get started and just some great takeaways there. And as far as people writing their goals down, it's one of the things that I talk about as well. If you tell me you got your goals up here in your mind, you don't have them. Everybody has them in their mind. It takes the extra effort and the 1% to write them down and see them. And I tell you that I'm familiar with that book about dying, the five regrets. And Wayne Dyer, I'm sure you know who that is. He passed a few years ago.
I got to shake his hand.
Did you really?
Big hand.
Yeah, I did too. I had a chance.
Beautiful human being. Yeah.
Oh, man, one of my favorites. He in one of my very tough periods of my life, he was very inspirational. But he has a book, and one of his kind of takeaways was similar to the lady that the hospice nurse. But he said, "Don't die with your music still in you." And I believe it's a take from a Tolstoy book, but that was on the deathbed, and that was the one regret was dying with his music still in him. So for whoever and however.
I got to see him present at a hall here in Sarasota when he was alive, and again got to shake his hand, and it was really kind of cool. He played this music that was at a super high vibration. It was that song that was about the slave trader that oh God, what's the name of the song? Anyway, I digress. He was an incredible human being, and what a loss to lose him.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, so let's go back to 2008.
Amazing Grace. That's the damn song. I couldn't think of it. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, it was on a dry eye in the place. This song sung by this Irish woman, it was vibrating in this super high frequency. Anyway, sorry.
No. I can envision that. Okay. That's got to be powerful. So, as we're kind of talking about mindset, and obviously just the ability to accumulate $50 million plus in net worth is obviously very rare air, and of course losing that, as you said, many people would have jumped off a building. So how did you deal with that? And I guess more importantly is what happened next?
Sure. No, good question. And so there were several strategies besides goals as well. Okay, goals is super important. You've got to know what you want, why you want it. Another one is peer group. You've got to be around people that aren't going to hold you back. And so usually people will default to peers that they go to school with or went to school with or work with. And that's a mistake. You need to proactively choose your peers. And so, if you're not around people that lift you up or build you up, big mistake, because a lot of people will hold you back because of either their jealousy, their fear, even their fear of losing you. Okay, and sometimes it's family. I would tell you, love your family, choose your peers, be very careful of who you allow to influence you, right? And so, that's super important. So peer group's important. Like I have coaching students, and I'm really proud of this. I've been teaching less than 4 years, and they now own over 47,000 units, and I'm super proud of this.
Wow.
And so, that's and it's because of the peer group. So they buy these units together, they help each other, they lift each other up. It's this incredible ecosystem that we've created. And again, if you can come to my boot camp, let me mention that again. I'm teaching for 3 full days. Again, not a big sales pitch. I talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes. That's it. And you don't have to do it. You can make an appointment. I don't even tell you how much it is. You meet with them if you want. But the rest of the time is all training. And we go through every aspect of the multi-family. See, I teach people how to buy apartment buildings, obviously. And, I bought about 2,500 doors myself with my students in the last couple of years. And we teach you how to do that, every aspect of it, team building and finance and deal evaluation, property management, on and on. And of course, I spend a lot of time on mindset because you got to take action with what you learn. So there's that as well. So let me give you your peeps. I'll give you guys a phenomenal deal. The price right now, if you go to my website, it's $597. And the website is multifamilybootcamp.com. Or you can text multifamily to 72345. But remember this code. Remember Rod Friend. Okay, use that code. If you use that code, you can come for $197, so a third of the price. And you get my Courage and Confidence course, which is like 8 modules I just finished about building your courage and confidence to take action, which I'm really proud of. Also, I've got an incredible Finding Deals course. You get that as well. It's all free. You get that instantly. And then you also get my best-selling book, #1 bestseller, How to Create Lifetime Cash Flow Through Multifamily Properties. You get the audio version and you get the PDF for this, and you get a ticket to the event. And like I said, if you come and you don't freaking love it, I don't mean like it, I mean love it. You come to me on Sunday, I'll give you your money back. No problem. It's never happened, but there's always a first time. So, I mean love it. So anyway, again, that's multifamily to 72345. Use the code RODFRIEND or go to Multifamily Bootcamp. If you go to the bottom of that, multifamilybootcamp.com, you go to the bottom of that page, you will see what hundreds of people have said about it. And
we'll drop a link as well here, Rod.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so, it's a lot of fun. We have a blast. I have about $3 billion on the panels on stage that answer all the questions. It's just a blast. But anyway, so was there a question there, or did I just go rambling?
Well, no, I was asking, what 2008, you lost it all.
How did I get through it?
Yeah,
how did I get through it? So the peer group is so that's why you want to, that's why the event is so incredible, because there'll be a bunch of my warriors, my mentorship coaching students there, and for people to meet and align with. So that's just, the networking is off the hook. But so peer group is #1. Second thing is, let's see, got to have goals, and you've got to be able to push through those limiting beliefs. Let me give you an example of this. When I immigrated to this country, I didn't speak English, and I got thrown into school, and I discovered what bullies were for the first time. I didn't learn how to fight back yet, and so I got my butt kicked on a regular basis. And then, my mom thought it'd be a great idea, a proud Dutch woman that she is, to send me to school in wooden shoes and those those leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest.
Oh yeah.
And of course, I got my butt kicked again. And then bullies would chase me home, and and she'd chase him off with a fly swatter. So I got my butt kicked again. And what happened through all of this, we've all had this stuff happen. And what happened was I created this belief system that I wasn't good enough. In fact, I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? And which presupposed I wasn't, right? And so a lot of people have these limiting belief systems. So if you're listening and you have one of them, what's important for you to do is for you to consciously pull it out in the daylight when it happens and look at it through your adult rational mind and recognize that it's BS. There's a reason the acronym for limiting beliefs for belief systems is BS, because 99.9% of them are BS. Okay, they just, we've had emotional things happen to us in our childhood that we feel are factual and they're not. There's no basis in fact. And so, keep that in mind. So you got to be able to push through those limiting beliefs and fear, recognizing that action mitigates fear. You've got to take that first step. Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago, said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you got to take that first step. You've got to push through the fear, and then the next step will be revealed. You can drive all the way across the country at night, only seeing 40, 50 feet in front of you, and you'll make it. Other people have done it. You may hit some obstacles, but you'll make it. It's the same way with your goals. But you got to take that first step. In fact, in our business, there's the law of the first deal. That first deal is the scariest. It's the longest. It takes the longest. It's the hardest. It's the most stressful. And then once you're doing it, it's like, was that all there was? I see my students all the time, like 8 months, they finally get a deal, that they've stressed about. And the next thing I know, they have 6. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And so it's that law of the first deal. Yeah. So, that's another thing to remember. But as it relates to pivoting from loss, peer group's huge, goals are super important. And that's what I did, is I just reassociated with what I wanted and why I wanted it. As human beings, and focus, that's the one I was missing. Focus is so freaking important. Now, if you're listening to Scott or watching this, you're a leader, and the world needs leaders right now. Don't get me started on fake news and all the politics that's going on right now. Okay, so the world needs leaders, and so it's so critical that you pay attention to your focus. Don't go on the news. I mean, it's all crap. There's nothing, they're not there to inform us, they're there to startle us. Remember that. Bring in the good stuff. In my podcast, I do these clips called Own Your Power. Okay, they're motivational clips. And this week was on taking 100% responsibility. And they're about 5 minutes. There's music, and I will juice you. And there's hundreds of them there. Okay, I've done one every week for 4 years. And so, listen to those, or, if you don't want to listen to me, then, and by the way, the name of my podcast is Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. And like I said, I'm about to hit 12 million downloads, but let me share something else about focus, because the most successful people on the planet are the ones that are most focused. And whatever you focus on, both positive or negative, is going to get larger. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I'll get people say, I'm trying to get rid of my student loan debt. And I'm like, wrong statement or wrong question. Forget that. How do you make so much money that the debt's irrelevant? Mm-hmm. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. Right? Get the distinction? And so focus is so powerful. In fact, bragging about my podcast, I listen to a podcast called Tim Ferriss. He's probably one of the largest ones out there. He gets 11 or 12 million a week. I'm excited about mine. He gets that a week. But he interviews the best of the best in the world. Okay, the best actors. He's had Arnold, Jamie Foxx, Ed Norton. He's the best athletes, Michael Phelps, Michael Jordan. Billionaires like Ray Dalio, the CEOs of the largest companies in the world, politicians. And I started to hear a pattern. They all meditate. And what does meditation enhance? Focus. Yep. Right? So focus is super important as well. Anyway, I could keep going, but yeah. I'm sure you got a question.
Well, I do, and I do want to go back to that. But speaking of Tim Ferriss, and I'm a fan as well, and right. He wrote a book 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was called something about Titans. But Tools for Titans. Yeah. And so, one of my questions for you is, and speaking of meditation, do you have a morning routine that you are consistent with, and what's that look like? If you could share.
Yeah, great question. So what I do is very, very simple. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes. I will do gratitude first. I will sit in this recliner behind my green screen there. You can see my vision boards on the floor there with pictures. I'll do gratitude, and I'll sit there and I'll just be grateful for my amazing supermodel, beautiful wife, who's more beautiful on the inside than the outside, my kids, my coaching students, my foundation, and I'll just do gratitude. But then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I know I'm losing some of you analytical ones. You're like, oh, for God's sakes, can we just talk about real estate? Trust me, my friends, this is more important, okay? Trust me, this is how I had $50 million to lose and how I got it back, okay? So I'll just do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I will sometimes get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet, okay? And you're like, I know, I lost a few more there, but I'm just here to tell you, this is how it works, guys. I've got a sign above my bed. It used to say 100,000 a month. Now it's got an extra. Now it says, was it extra million? It says $1 million a month. Okay. Why? My wife hates it, but why? Because it freaking works. Okay. Trust me on this. As you say it, so shall it be. I've got I am statements around my room here. For example, you can see them on the wall here. I am success. I am the best in the world at what I do. I'm a business genius. This is not braggadocious. This is what I'm aspiring to be. And anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. There's no greater force in our human nature than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. So anything you put the words I am in front of says that. And people, the hijackers for 9/11, that was their identity. They killed themselves over it. People will die and fight for their identity. So you can use this. Like I incant this stuff at the top of my lungs. I am health and energy. I'm courage, determination, and focus. And so any area of my life that I want to work on, I do affirmations. And I'll be in my exercise room yelling this shit at the top of my lungs. I am courage. It's funny, my kids help me at my live events, my son and daughter, and that's the question they get asked the most often. Does he really do that shit? And they're like, oh yeah, we went through that. Yeah. So anyway, because it works, guys. Okay, that's it. If you want to be average or just ordinary, then don't do any of this stuff. If you want to be extraordinary, this is how you do it. I mean, this is my way to do it. I'm not saying my way is the right way, but this is how I do it.
Fantastic. Well, Rod, I got to tell you, I'm like over here jumping out of my chair. This has been amazing.
Thanks, buddy.
I can see.
Let me share one more quick thing. Are we out of time?
No, I had one other question for you. Please share that. Let me ask you one other question.
All right. Yeah. I want to share a thing because it ties into goals, and it's so. I'll ask you a question, and then I'll say what I want to say.
Well, I want to. I think your foundation. I'd like to ask about that, but I think
that'll be what I'm talking about.
Okay, but I think if there was one thing that you could be remembered for. When it's all said and done, what would that be?
Yeah. Oh, that's easy. See the wall behind me? See all those thank you cards?
Yeah.
The whole wall's covered. You can't even see hundreds of thank you cards of people whose life. Now, this is not ego. Please know this. But I get love at least 10 times a day.
Wow.
I'll get gifts. I'll get cards. I'll get DMs. I'll get emails. And people just thanking me and for taking action and changing their lives. And that's my greatest gift in life, brother. That's why I'm addicted. That's why I work Sundays. My wife puts up with it because I just freaking love it. When you love what you do, you never work another day in your life, right? Work is play. So back to the thing I want to talk about because it relates to goals as well. So I'm glad I didn't forget. So let me share a story with you. Okay, so I worked for this. Let me back up. So I told you I wanted to live on the beach, and I bought this I built this incredible mansion on the beach. In fact, that's the pool behind me in the picture. And I mean, this place was spectacular. Elevator, wine cellar, giant spiral staircase up through the middle of the house. On the second floor, I had aquariums that cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. 2 months after I moved in, I worked for this thing for 20 freaking years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in this pool behind me. It's night. Pool's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting. And I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. I built it to prove the world I was good enough. And I'm looking up at this thing, and I got depressed. And this is 2 months after I moved in. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was freaking bummed. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I've just achieved success like times 1,000. I had the Maserati in the garage at the time. I had a couple of Mercedes. I had the boats, the jet skis, all the stuff, beautiful family in the house, incredible home. And I was depressed. And this is what I want to share with your listeners. There were a couple things going on, actually 3 things going on. Number one is you never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. You need a vision for your future. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. I didn't know what I was going to do next. So that was one thing. Second thing is it's never about the goals. You need the goals to push you and propel you and drive you, but it's never about the goals. You know, they say the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat, the day they sell the boat, right? It's never about the goals, but you need them. But it's really about progress and growth. Happiness comes from progress and growth. It really never comes from the goals. And so I didn't know what I was going to do to continue to grow or progress. But the last thing, which is probably the most important thing, was I've been totally focused on myself. You know, rod, show the world I'm good enough, show the world I matter. And so I went out and bought some books, and I got Dale Carnegie, you know, and I got, you know, Zig Ziglar at the time and Tony Robbins. And I started reading Tony's book. I'm like, man, this is good stuff. So I went and saw him live. And I actually, shout out, if you have a chance to see him, just do it. I spent 20 years following him around the planet. And so I found out that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. You know, I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. And so I came home and I called my brother because I was going to Denver for Thanksgiving to see him and see my family there. And I said, hey, let's feed some families. And so he went to his church and found 5 families that really needed help. The 3rd family changed my life. So we bought toys for the kids. We got frozen turkeys, big boxes of food. And we get to this lady's place. It was a piece of crap. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom. This woman lived there with 5 kids. And she comes out and she sees this stuff on the porch, the toys and the food, and she starts crying. And then her kids come out, a couple of the older ones start crying. And then I start crying, and I'm hooked. And I'm blessed to say, Scott, over the last 21 years, we've fed over 110,000 children here in Sarasota and Bradenton. We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies. It's astounding. We live in the greatest freaking country on earth, and kids don't even have school supplies. We've done, you know, tens of thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in their vehicles if they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And I don't say this to brag either, okay? But I do need you to listen up right now, guys, okay? If you're not giving back in some fashion, you need to start immediately. Here's why. See, we've been taught to achieve to be happy. Like, you can't be happy until you've achieved, right? But I'm going to tell you, if you give back, you are happily achieving, okay? Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement really is a science. If you want to learn multifamily, you come see me. I will give you the blueprint. You just got to go do it, okay? That's it. That's it. And I'll push you to do it as well. It's a science. There's a map. There's no secret sauce to becoming wealthy. You just have to do, you know, the work. But fulfillment really is an art. So you've got to figure out what you're passionate about. Do you love children like I do, or the elderly, or the environment, or animals, whatever it is, and do something right now. Don't say to yourself, I'll do it when I have the money. No, do it right now. Give back right now. Why? Because you get the money faster. Yeah. But that's not why, actually. That's just a byproduct, but you will, okay? Do it because it'll fulfill you, and you'll be happily achieving. But you'll get success much faster. And so I formed a foundation. It's called the Tiny Hands Foundation. Like I said, if you want to check into it, every dime goes to help the kids. I pay the operational expenses and then a whole lot more out of my pocket. $22 feeds a family. If you're interested in helping, text Tiny Hands to 72345. And like I said, in fact, everybody buys a ticket, I feed a family. So, you know, it's like $700 that I'm paying for this year. So, but anyway.
That's fantastic, by the way, and yeah, life is. I've always believed that we're here for a lot of reasons, but to help other people. In fact, one thing I'll never forget: Deepak Chopra. I suspect you've run across him. I'll never forget this. It was the hardest Christmas of my life. It was the lowest spot of my life, and I was watching a show, and they were interviewing Deepak Chopra, and they said Christmas and the holidays obviously can be a beautiful time for a lot of people. It also can be very painful for many. And if there was one piece of advice that you would give to others at this holiday season, what would it be to make your holiday brighter? And Deepak Chopra said, go do something nice for somebody else. And it was profound to me at the time, but if you want to achieve happiness, go make somebody else happy first.
If you want to be happy, give happiness.
Amen.
You want love, give love. You want money, give money, okay? Whatever you give, you get back 100-fold, okay? That's just how the world works. That's how God works, the universe works, whatever you believe. That's just how it works. So love it.
Rod, I got to tell you, man, I've got goosebumps over here. This has been categorically the best interview I've ever had the privilege of conducting.
Oh, that's
and
kind of
I mean that from the heart. And so you're an amazing guy. No wonder your success has been just so out of this world. And so congratulations to all your success. And, of course, best wishes for a lot more. Let me just give you one opportunity here to pitch the plug the boot camp and
listen, guys,
just so everyone's clear.
If you're interested in the boot in multifamily, for God's sakes, don't miss this opportunity. Do whatever you do. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know some people have a tough time taking Friday off, but it's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's at the DoubleTree in Orlando. You can I told you can come for $197. It's a duh. I mean, seriously, if you're interested in this business, don't miss this opportunity. I promise you'll love it. You'll be juiced. You'll be excited. You'll learn this business. You'll be able to go out there and make it happen. And again, just go to multifamilybootcamp.com or text multifamily to 72345 and remember the code RODFRIEND, and you can come for a third of what's listed there. 197, and you get those 2 courses. You get the Courage and Confidence course, the Finding Deals course, because right now the hardest thing is finding deals. So I wanted to give that in, and you get my book, and I promise you'll be glad you did. So I appreciate you giving. And by the way, if you can't make it and you want to just kind of get a feel for what I do, and I've got a ton of incredible resources at my website. If you go to realestatewithrod.com, it's a direct link to rodkhleif.com. Nobody can spell my name. But if you can go to realestatewithrod.com, there's free books there, there's videos there, there's articles there, there's a tremendous amount of educational material there that you can start consuming if you can't come to the boot camp.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, let me just say again, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege. Thank you for your time. If those that are thinking about this, you're a fool if you don't attend this. And so, guys, I just want to say again, thank you to my special guest, Rod Khleif. This has been another episode of the Real Estate Investors Money Matrix. I'm your host, Scott Ulmer. We'll see you next time. Rod, thanks again.